The question that starts everything is from Matthew 24, verse 3. The disciples asked Jesus what kind of signs there would be before his coming. The Greek word for coming used here is Parousia, sometimes called Parousia. Now, as he sat on the Mount of Olives, the disciples came to him privately, saying, "Tell us, when will these things be, and what will be the sign of your coming," or Parousia, "and the end of the age?" A quick description of this word Parousia might be helpful for our discussion. The word is actually pretty rare in the New Testament. It's only used 24 times. And this is compared with the usual word for coming, which is used 222 times. When this word, Parousia, is used of Christ, it is almost used in a technical sense in order to refer to Jesus' coming in the last days. Notice in the definition that this includes and encompasses all the things that Christ will do, starting with the rapture, his visible return, the raising of the dead, but it also includes the last judgment, and also the setting up of the kingdom after Armageddon. The rapture will be the first thing to happen at his coming, or parousia, but there are not multiple parousias, like one parousia at the rapture and then another one at Armageddon. There's only one word that is used to describe all of those tasks. A good example is how this word is used in Greek literature. It was used to describe a visit from a king to the area that the king ruled over. It would be used to refer to his arrival and the entirety of his visit. The parousia, or coming of the king, could last a long time. And that's why the first definition, as you see on your screen, is simply presence. It's no big mystery that Christ describes the events before the rapture in this discourse, because that's what they asked him about. What are going to be the signs of your parousia? And the rapture is the first thing that happens at Christ's parousia. Also, it's interesting to note that Matthew also tacks on the, quote, end of the age to this question, because he understands that Christ's parousia will be linked to the wrath of God, because the disciples had been taught just a few days earlier by Jesus that the harvest of the righteous was to coincide with the end of the age and the destruction of the wicked. In a parable, Christ says, "Let both grow together until the harvest, and at the time of the harvest I will say to the reapers, first gather together the tares and bind them in bundles to burn them, but gather the wheat into my barn." And then when explaining the parable, he says, "The enemy who sowed them is the devil, the harvest is the end of the age, and the reapers are the angels. Therefore, as the tares are gathered and burned in the fire, so it will be at the end of the age." And so that gives us an idea of what the disciples were asking Jesus at the beginning of Matthew 24. So Jesus then begins to answer their questions. In Matthew 24, verses 4 through 8, it says, "And Jesus answered and said to them, Take heed that no one deceives you. For many will come in my name, saying, I am the Christ, and will deceive many. And you will hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that you are not troubled, for all these things must come to pass. But the end is not yet. For nation will rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there will be famines, pestilences, and earthquakes in various places. All these are the beginnings of sorrows." So, he says in the days leading up to his parousia, there's going to be signposts. But he warns us that these should not be confused with the end of the age, or the wrath of God. These signs are only the beginnings of sorrows. The word there is birth pangs in some translations. He's saying that these things are not the baby itself, they're only the signs that the birth is near.